A very sunny Spa-Francorchamps welcomes the teams for GT4 European Series here. It is their second race of the weekend, and temperatures are getting hotter and hotter and hotter all the time. The cars making their way round to the grid, coming just a few hours, it feels, after their night race yesterday. That was a lively old affair and had penalties being applied, and a first win as a partnership for Thomas Rackel and Gabriele Piana. They will start today's race with a Piana set time from third on the grid. Pole position going to the car that won on the road yesterday, the McLaren of Charlie Hart and Mackenzie Cresswell, but Charlie got done for speeding in the pit lane, so ultimately the win did not go their way. They ended up being classified in second position. David Addison, Joe Osborne and Jonathan Grace from GT World Challenge America are trackside. Joe, let's start with you. Yesterday, really good racing. Shame about the penalties, but a good, canny drive by Gabriele Piana to take that win.
Yeah, first point, good racing. It really was, wasn't it? Not a single interruption from safety car, full course yellow with 44 cars is impressive driving by all. And there was a lot of hard, fair racing, wasn't it? And Piana really was that knife through butter. They did the undercut strategy. 2 more laps for Piana seemed to make the difference and ultimately give them the win.
And Jonathan, your first look at GT4 European Series in the flesh yesterday, and I get the feeling you enjoyed it.
I absolutely did. I think that race threw a little bit of everything at us. We had weather, as you said, we had penalties, we had some phenomenal racing, and I think we're in for a treat today as well. Conditions-wise, looks to be maybe slightly more straightforward than yesterday, which makes me think some of those cars that had set up for the race anticipating hot conditions throughout and then lost pace in cooler and drizzly conditions may be in a better state today. I think our winners from yesterday as well, Rackel and Piana, are in a mighty fine position as well, not having to carve through the field. They don't have to make up as much ground in the pits, and they can rely on some of the pace that we know is in that blue BMW.
Very true. Thomas Rackel, less experienced than Gabriele Piana, but did a good job yesterday. And the point you made yesterday about the conditions, we did end up with a little bit of drizzle. I mean, people were showing weather apps, Joe, weren't they? Joe, about thunder and lightning nearby, Joe, and the fact that rain was in the area, Joe, but it never really came, did it, Joe?
I would defend myself and say there was a large amount of rain, but due to the surface being 50 degrees, it evaporated as quickly as it could fall. The lap times.
Thank you, Professor Science.
I haven't finished yet. The lap times did drop by 6-7 seconds, didn't they, for 3 or 4 laps, and then suddenly it went back. And back to your point, Jonathan, those cars that were strong in the hot conditions, the McLarens, and then the damp conditions seemed to favour the Lotus, which then dropped away again. We also heard that Diaste, after his pits, in the pit stop, just had to lie down for 20 minutes. Cockpit temperatures in that Lotus well above 70 degrees centigrade apparently. So yeah, it's physical for the drivers. Ambient already 32 degrees here.
And it's only going to get hotter. I mean, yesterday, by definition, we were starting in the evening and going into the night. It was getting cooler. Now we're starting mid-morning and temperatures are going up and up and up and up.
Yeah, already 32 degrees Celsius right now, and it's still the morning hours, just about 10:30 in the morning here. I'm really curious how that's going to affect conditions, especially for those who are pulling effectively double duty today and competing in the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. This is one heck of a morning warm-up.
It is. One of those is Gabriele Piana. You just saw Eric Evans there aboard the Ford Mustang, which is the Academy Motorsport entry number 61 that he shares with Nathan Van Springel, a car that went well yesterday. The driver that starts is the driver that did the qualifying time. There's Charlie Hart, quick Brit, bit quick in the pits, but pace on track was good yesterday. And there's the driver of the bright yellow elite car, one orange, which is Charlie's, and Yanni Stevenheidens has the yellow one. Now, we saw Eric Evans a moment ago in the Mustang, and our reporter Gwenelle Langy is down on the grid, and he's able to have a word with Eric Evans before we go racing. Gwenelle.
Eric, starting from third row on the grid today, really different conditions from what you had yesterday. What's the ambition for today's race?
Yeah, no, the conditions last night were a bit tricky with the off and on rain, but I'm looking forward to this. Our car has some strong race pace, and the fact that we're starting in a good position, I think we'll have a good shot today.
Have a good race. Thank you.
We like the Mustangs, Jonathan, because they sound great, but I can imagine they're pretty physical to drive around a place like this.
I would absolutely imagine. Joe was talking about the differences in some of the philosophies behind these cars yesterday, and I think the Mustang is a great example of that. That big growling, thundering V8 up front pulls the car along. Still rear-wheel drive, as are all of these GT4 cars, but certainly a little bit more tricky to turn into a corner. probably, with a little bit more of that weight up front, but powering out, you can use some of the grunt of that V8 to your advantage, and a lot of straight tarmac here at Spa-Francorchamps as well. But we saw the Audis be pretty rapid in a straight line yesterday too.
Did indeed, and one or two drivers there you can see standing by the side of the cars to try and get a little bit of fresh air, and a fan, always a handy thing to have. Just trying to keep drivers cool. Lucas Cartel, second in the championship in the Toyota, had a big moment yesterday, didn't he, going up Camel Straight, ended up on the grass and then had a fair old tank slapper. Let's get back down to the grid. Bryn Lucas is also down there for us, and he has found the drivers of 111 Mercedes, the championship leaders, Enrico Federer and Cedric Fuchs. They're going to start on the 6th row of the grid, the championship leaders. 3 times they've had a win this year. Let's go to them.
Well, we can talk about the temperature. We can talk about it. It's soaring, 32 degrees ambient temperature. Track temperature is rising. For you guys in the championship, 3 wins and leading the championship, you could do with getting a decent result here today. That's the obvious question.
Yeah, so at first we have a not great starting position. We're a little bit in the back, not like expected. But yeah, the temperature is hot. It's very tough for all drivers. So we're just giving our best, making no mistakes, and then we see what the result is.
Yeah, as we're almost getting run over on the grid here, Cedric, you've got the difficult task of starting this one here, and we've seen just how tricky it is to find grip because of the track temperature soaring.
Yeah, it's not easy, but we will be careful at the beginning and try our best so that we get enough points for the championship.
Confident?
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Do we say that's quietly confident? There, number 77 trickling into place. That's going to have Harry Reynolds to do the first stint. And the driver that starts this race is the driver that set the qualifying time. So you know roughly that the pace of the car is reflected in where they are on the grid there. Number 2 is the Porsche Cayman. It's going to be started by Leon van Westerveld. He was really racy in the second part yesterday, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. It was really interesting, kind of a tale of 2 halves for the number 2 Cayman. Was strong, I think, in the first stint, but really in the second half of that race came alive. And I don't think there was a single time we cut to him on camera that he wasn't engaged in a battle of some sort. It was a very busy race. Remarkably kept the nose mostly clean, which is easier said than done in a GT4 race in any category.
Very true. Big crowd on hand, and it's growing all the time as they pour in ready for the CrowdStrike 24 Hours at Spa. There is the car that Mackenzie Cresswell will start. He did absolutely nothing wrong yesterday, Joe, but the penalty sadly was triggered by Charlie Hart. Just a fraction too quick, 0.4 of a mile an hour, or a kilometre an hour, I should say, in the pit lane. Yeah,
and it might not be Charlie Hart's fault. We don't know. It could have been that the car going downhill just went over speed, and the drivers are really just instructed to stay full throttle, and the limiter holds them there. You can hear a big tyre pressure bleed going on that car. The teams tend to do it as late as they can. There's a minimum tyre pressure, 1.3 bar. And if they are below that, we've seen it before in this championship, where they then have to come into the pits at the end of the formation lap to adjust that.
Now, Greg Gilbert is another man to watch because he's been a previous class champion as well as a French GT champion. He drives number 8 Audi. He starts on row 5 and he's with Gunnell.
Gregory, tough day for all the speed car team yesterday. You're P4 in the championship. You really need to get some points today.
Yeah, we really need to get some points. I think we have our lineup is quite one of the strongest one, but yeah, we missed big points yesterday. We had an issue, electric issue, so yeah, it's a shame, but we really need to score points today.
The conditions are really different from what you had yesterday night. How will you deal with that?
For this condition, we do lots of practices this week, so yeah, it's something that we know. So yeah, I think we had a good setup for this race.
Thank you, Greg. Have a good race.
Greg Gilbert sharing with Paul Petit. And now the grid will start to be cleared and we'll get things underway. Is that a concern, do we think, looking at the front of number 8, bonnet off?
It's definitely not normal, is it? And the only thing I could say the reason it's normal is the temperatures. Maybe they're just trying to get any hot air out of the front part of that car than they can, because they don't look panicked, do they?
No.
Looks like it's going back on now. But again, just another illustration of extreme temperatures, teams doing anything they can to help the performance of these cars.
We saw a couple teams actually do that, I think, on the pre-grid yesterday as well, even in slightly cooler conditions, although they started. But even in the time that we've been talking, already a half degree Celsius up, and we haven't even taken the green flag yet. I think it's going to be absolutely treacherous getting in there. I mean, we've seen the leaf blowers, the mini fans. I can tell you they've been full blast in the media center, and we're indoors with airflow in here. I can't even imagine under layers of Nomex and a racing helmet and climbing aboard the cockpit of a GT4 car how treacherous it is out there.
There is a pit window, of course, that comes 25 to 35 minutes, and that's when these drivers will finally get a chance of some respite. But you know, that doesn't sound a lot, does it? 25 minutes or half an hour for a stint. Think about drivers later on in the day in the CrowdStrike 24 hours of Spa that are going to be asked to do an hour, or maybe in the night 2, and sometimes 3 hours under normal temperatures. They are in for a very tough race indeed. We're in for a really good race, no question about it. GT4 European Series, I think you were saying yesterday, Joe, how driving standards have really improved, and it's giving better racing all round.
Yeah, massively. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say, but I enjoy GT4 racing more than GT3 at the moment, just because they can run so close to each other. Lack of aero means that they just run so close. It's more that sort of touring car style of racing, which obviously comes with its pros and its cons. But at the moment, I really enjoy this European GT4 series.
Yeah, here the British Touring Car Championship's very good. There, looking down onto the grid, Sacha Botterman in another of those Team Speed Car Audis. We've not really touched on another big story of yesterday, but number 1, the reigning champion, Benjamin Lariche, retiring at the end of the formation lap with what we were hearing was a potential engine failure. I mean, that's just unheard of. And an Audi as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting actually hearing from Grinnell that there was an electrical issue on the number 8. We saw them have a pretty strong first half of the race and then sink back. I you know, can speculate only, as you were talking about the number 1 Team Speed Car. It was a tough day for everybody involved, but they, I think, will certainly be looking to have a comeback here, or really a start of any kind, because they didn't race a single lap yesterday. But we know that the Audi is quick in a straight line. We saw it be pretty proficient in the run-up, Eau Rouge, down the Kemmel Straight, what have you. It's just a matter of putting the race together, isn't it? And,
sure.
You know, obviously, any kind of gremlin under the hood is out of your control, but driving the best race you can certainly is.
We had a race for a different brand, a one-make race yesterday, where the heat was causing sensors to think there was a problem when there wasn't, and to switch off. I mean, can we put some of those electrical issues down to the temperatures as well?
Yeah, I mean, when I was at McLaren, we'd develop a car, you do your 30-hour test at the end to sign it off, to say this car can do it 24 hours, and that's fine. But the conditions are what you're presented. Of course, you try to do it in hot conditions, cool conditions to take it off. But yesterday, like you were saying, we're seeing some cars boiling their fuel. It is that warm.
Wow.
The fuel is boiling in the tank, so then the fuel pump is getting a pressure issue because there's no fuel to pump because it's air bubbles. This is beyond what is normal, and it is really showing some cars that have never been in those parameters before.
There's the 15-second board. You've got the Maserati lead car then ready to take them away. We'll have a look at the grid as we get set for an hour of GT4 European Series racing. There goes the lead car. It will sprint away just to give the race cars a chance to accelerate and catch up, rather than just chug away slowly at its pace. So the green flag waved. All of the grid marshals there stand proud. The drone makes its way up the straight towards La Source, and you can see BMW, McLaren, Alpine, Aston Martin, Porsche, Mercedes AMG, Lotus, another of the Toyota Supras, and Julien Rippert's Audi at the back. That was a car that didn't get away yesterday, and when it did go, it then pulled off on the formation lap as well.
Yeah, so hopefully that's fixed. The only solo driver as well.
Very true. So Mackenzie Cresswell is going to start from pole position with Harry Reynolds alongside. Gabriele Piana, yesterday's winner, starting third, and Michael Haverans, now Eric Evans at the wheel of that car, is going to go next, ahead of the car of Lucas Gartel, and then it's Colin Cronin alongside. You've got Paul Petit lining up alongside Jagish Gadic. 11th is where you find Cedric Fuchs. Then it is James Sherrington, this time on the 12th rank, ahead of Robert Constany and Leon van Verseveld. You've got Philip Viskerken and Lachlan Evernet next up. Chris Solkel's been a class winner. Sergio Nicolai is alongside him, ahead of Sacha Botterman and Max Kronberg. His co-driver Daniel Blickler is the leader of the AM Championship. Next up is going to be Alex Papadopoulos on the 11th row with Pedro Perino alongside. On the 12th row, it is going to be Max Bostrom, who retired late in yesterday's race. Paolo Meloni is going to be alongside him. Next up, it's Laurent Hergon's Alpine and Ravi Ramyid in the elite McLaren, the white car that he shares with Charlie Robertson. Julien Brichet is on row 14, a double AM winner. Florent Grisot alongside, ahead of Dan Lavery and Thibaut Mojica, who got a penalty yesterday. Tim Horrell didn't get a run yesterday, but he will start today alongside the Pro-Am Championship leading Joachim Valder. Joachim Bulting is next with Josh Thomas for company. Under Erdem is on row 18 alongside Pedro Garcia. Row 19, Max Huber and Maurizio Coppetti in the Lotus, ahead of Dan Nielsen and Stefan Nielsen alongside. Row 21 is Massimo Abati and Mikael Brunhagen. dad starting in the Toyota today. Ross Poole is on row 22 alongside Roberto Faria, who never got a lap time in because the car ground to a halt in the first qualifying session. And Julien Ripper, who missed qualifying, is going to be at the back of the grid. So that is how they will line up. I think I missed a row in all of that, which was the third row. Gerald Mesh lining up alongside Eric Evans, and Michael Haverans just ahead in the similar Mustang he shares with Sam Paley. So the cars now make the run down towards the campus right-hander. So orange is Mackenzie Cresswell, yellow is Harry Reynolds on that front row. Then you've got Gabriele Piana, the one to watch possibly in that blue BMW. Michael Haverans alongside. Good variety in that leading group.
I think so too. I've also got my eye on that number 68 Mustang. Haverans was quick yesterday. I know Sam Paley, as a Ford Racing junior, has plenty of pace in hand. And always a nice nod when you get backing from a manufacturer and that support that to represent the Blue Oval globally here. But I like that pairing a lot. They're starting far up the field. They battled near the front yesterday. Kind of faded just a little bit, but of the two Mustangs, they seem to be the stronger going the distance, and they are starting in that position as well. And the second row of the grid is a pretty handy spot, especially because that car seemed to do well in all conditions too.
Joe, just a very quick thought. We're starting on that run to Eau Rouge, not the run to La Source. Now, does that help or hinder different brands, given the nature of the run and where you're heading to?
Yeah, it hinders the McLarens the most. They're the weakest in Sector 1. That's the sector we're starting in. So that long run. So expect the McLarens to fight tactically and potentially cut the top of Eau Rouge. Cynical I may be, racing driver mind is what I'm thinking.
So the McLarens then, having done the time's taken from the exit of the chicane to the exit of the chicane. But as we made the point here, we're going to use for ceremonial purposes the old start area. So they're going to get themselves now in that 2x2 formation. McLaren's run by the British Elite Motorsport team, Elite Motorsport Eddie Ives squad, that's not been around for that many years, but boy, is it won things. Ginetta Juniors, single-seaters now, GB4, GB3, and the GT4 European Series race successes, and International GT Open. It's got a Ferrari that it runs in that, so it really is a powerhouse. The car to watch, I still reckon, is going to be that blue BMW. Gabriele Piana, winner yesterday. So much experience and a man to watch then. So now they get themselves into that 2x2 formation, coming out of the chicane. This is where the race will finish, but it's going to start the other side of La Source then. And we are getting set for our 6th race of the season within the GT4 European Series. Pole position, Mackenzie Cresswell in the orange McLaren. It is going to be Harry Reynolds lining up alongside. We've got an hour on the clock. Mandatory pit stops between 25 and 35 minutes. It's race 2 for GT4 European Series. Jonathan, it's all yours.
The McLarens were so mighty at the start yesterday, weren't they? And we saw them again struggle a little bit up Eau Rouge in that first sector, but on the whole looked really, really nice. 78 in particular took the checkered flag at the starting position, and now as we get ready for the green flag, it is going to be McLaren Elite Motorsport with entire race to lead the field of green at one of the most iconic racing venues anywhere in the world. Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. We are green. We are running side by side, and a daring move around the outside for the 77. And that puts one McLaren ahead of the other. The 78, who was set to lead the field of green, is now going to be under pressure from yesterday's race winner when time was applied. Piana with a nice strong run, but fighting back, has the move made down the Kemmel Straight, but it's all how you get under braking in the Lecom.
Yeah, it was a strange start from Elite. Didn't look like it was planned. Cresswell was much quicker in the race yesterday. He's now down to third. He had a huge snap of oversteer for a second. I thought he was going to wipe out his teammate. Some cars cutting the inside. I saw one of the Porsche Caymans going slowly across the start line, but looks okay as finally the speed car Audi looks like it's up to speed as a Super, bouncing through the gravel.
I think that's James Sherrington possibly, who got there yesterday, didn't he, with a bit of help late race. So he gets away with it in number 5. So McLaren, BMW, McLaren, Mustang, Audi is the order. That's Lucas Cartel in the white and red, Toyota on a bit of a mission. But a good start, definitely, by Harry Reynolds then. Brave start, wasn't it, by both of the McLarens?
Absolutely not an easy thing to do, to go side by side through Eau Rouge, and certainly in the run up to Radion got a phenomenal run. In a sector of the racetrack, Joe, where you said the car wasn't as strong, he didn't seem to mind that one single bit. Battles further back in the field. This is the number 98 BMW.
Yeah, this is Joachim Walder, championship leader in Pro-Am, and boy, is it busy all around him. You can see all these 11 different manufacturers represented. Look out of the windscreen, loses out, Aston round the outside.
Yeah, the grip on the outside line seems to be strong, even in what we would consider to be pretty treacherous and slippery conditions. Joe, you would know better than I what it's like to race in the greasy heat, but doesn't seem to mind. We're seeing plenty of moves around the outside, the difficult way around.
Yeah, luckily this is only the second track activity of the day, so the outside line is the cleanest it's going to be at the moment, so I think drivers are able to explore it. The good drivers as well have a look at it on their outlap to see if it's an option later on in the race. So they already premeditated, nearly 3 wide into Blanchemont. The race lab McLaren gets down the inside of the Mercedes. I think the Mercedes is going to try and fight back as they go into the bus stop chicane. A huge braking zone here. They've got to knock off over 200 kilometers an hour. They go side by side. This normally leads to disaster at the apex of 19. The Mercedes smartly backs out of it.
You can race through that chicane. There is the width, as we saw in the McLaren race earlier on in the day. And at the end of lap 1, Harry Reynolds leads Gabriele Piana by round about half a second. It's Mackenzie Cresswell third, Michael Haverans is fourth, Eric Evans is fifth, Paul Petit sixth. In other words, McLaren BMW, McLaren Ford Audi is the top 6. Big effort being made there. Look, that is Garcia to the inside line. And whoops, the Ginetta getting involved with Dan Laver is Aston Martin. Thibaut Mojica got a penalty yesterday in that Ginetta, and he's involved in it again.
Yeah, I've just seen a Mercedes pull off on the start-finish line. It was the 16 of Huber. Got out the way good enough there that I think we're going to get away with green flag racing.
We saw it a few times yesterday, didn't we? Cars sportingly trying to get out of the way as best they could. And back at the front of the field, all of a sudden, Piana is on the move. The 77 had a dream start, but it's now the 12 BMW who was all over the back of him.
Yeah, Reynolds has got no pace here. He's also got the floor flapping away. Piana's going to go for the cutback. This should be moved done as they dive down the hill to Brussels. He's going to Cresswell demote them as huge puncher on the rear right of that Ginetta. We
talked contact, didn't we, at La Source? So Mojica, Thibaut Mojica in real strife. Meanwhile, lead battle goes the way of the BMW. So Piana has done it. And you're right about Reynolds. He just does not have the pace. And right back with him is Mackenzie Cresswell. Now, do Elite make the call and say switch places? Otherwise, that BM's going to get away.
Yeah, I think you're right. This middle sector is where the McLaren is at its strongest. Harry's start was insane, wasn't it? But now just seeming unable to get with the pace. And the problem is, like you said, Dave, if they start battling, Piana is just going to pull away. And will he be able to cement the second win of the weekend?
Eric Evans has started to close back in on Haverans as well, who is closing in himself on the battle for the top 3. It's now the top 5, maybe 6 if you include the Audi of Philippe behind. But it is Piana in the BMW. How close can the McLaren stay? And I look at Cresswell and his pace as well. Lost a few positions at the start, and Reynolds was so daring around the outside, and now it's just a pace of, does Reynolds have any pace left in the bag? And you're right, Joe. I am curious if they're going to switch them around, because Piana is starting to scamper away, and this is going to hurt both of the McLaren's chances.
You could see Mackenzie Cresswell on the lights there, coming out of the core. Paul Frey, you look down from the drone, to say, come on, either speed up or get out of the way, because I'm quicker. I can have a go at Piana. Very wide goes Reynolds. Has he got a problem? Is he now overdriving because he has a problem and he hasn't got the pace? He's the cork in the bottle.
Again, you can see the floor flapping underneath. That creates drag. Also, the vibration in the car is massive. It's like sitting on a jackhammer at 250 kilometers an hour while you're trying to spot an apex 250 meter away. It's really hard. Got to remember that Elite, yes, there'll be team orders, but both of these drivers bring their own funding. It's not like Formula One where the team are the dictators. The drivers are fighting for their own seats and results, so they can merely suggest that as a driver you can simply ignore.
Fastest lap of the race, Eric Evans, you're on board with number 61 Mustang. It's just a wonderful soundtrack, this.
Yes, it absolutely is. We get 2 of them as well, because he's trying to pass the team floral car. Haverans just behind him, and look at the run. You called it there, Joe. This is a very, very strong run down the start of the Kemmel Straight. Now he's all over the back of the fellow Ford.
Yeah, side draft is massive here, so you try and sit in the pocket of air. It's a long way around the outside here, isn't it? We saw great moves being done yesterday, fairly, and some not. Is Cresswell down the inside? He is easily. That did look like a team order, as the Mustang's also going to switch position. 2 brands, 2 switches.
So that puts Cresswell ahead of Reynolds. It now puts the Eric Evans Mustang up past Michael Haverans, similar car, and then you've got Paul Petit in the best of the Audis in 6th place. Robert Constany, by the way, has dropped a spot in number 1, the reigning champion, down to 13th. Evans not only has cleared Haverans, but he's also very quickly catching up to the back of Harry Reynolds.
Yeah, and just with Cresswell pulling away, but not as much as I thought. I know it's only been a couple of corners, but maybe here Reynolds can now follow his sister car, and that will help him. As I say that, the gap is actually increasing, isn't it? Quite large at this point already. Evans will want to get this move done, so he doesn't have to worry about looking in his mirror at another Ford Mustang.
Evans has a lot of pace in hand. We saw Haverans fighting just on the tail edge of a podium yesterday, trying to think about a move up the inside, thinks better of it. That would have been a very, very late lunge. Reynolds continues to slow up just a little bit. If he has an issue, he's managing it well, but he certainly has a lack of pace compared to his compatriot just up the road from him, having made the pass. But Eric Evans is going to continue to lose time, especially once we get towards some of those longer straights where the Mustang has been so strong. You definitely don't want to be tucked behind a slower McLaren in front.
Yeah, the problem Evans has here is he needs to stop having false looks. The problem is you're crying wolf, and eventually the car in front of Harry Reynolds will stop acknowledging that and will always just shut the door, and it makes the move much riskier. We've got the overspeed here. Again, track limits for that elite McLaren. Now we're on the outside. This is the risky move I was talking about now. It's a long way round at 18, and then it gives you the inside at 19. We're not going for that. We're going for the simple cutback. What's he going to do, left or right? The McLaren's got great traction, so then the split starts to come back to the Mustang as the speeds continue to rise.
That McLaren has got good pace. So too, though, has the Mustang, which did have the fastest lap of the race. That now has gone the way of Gabriele Piana. But I reckon once that Mustang clears Harry Reynolds, it'll get away. And to the outside line comes Eric Evans. He's almost level. He's almost level. He's being squeezed a little bit towards the grass. Harry Reynolds has just about staved him off. But Eric Evans will go through at the bottom of the hill. He's on the outside line. Has he cleared the McLaren? Yes, he has. He's gone by. Off the road and back on again. There is Reynolds as he uses the escape tarmac, and he's going to lose another place surely to Haverans.
I'm worried for Reynolds as well. The amount of track limits, we've seen 3 in the last 2 laps. If he doesn't get a penalty of 5 seconds in this stint, I will eat every hat I own. He's got to steady the ship now. It's frustrating for him as he comes down the inside. That wasn't the steadying the ship I expected, but great move. And that has really, really hurt Evans. Maybe lost a place. He did well on the other Mustang to shut the door, but that is losing these cars so much time. You can barely see Cresswell, who's escaping up the road.
Yeah, that's a precarious position to be in because the Team Floral car has lost 1, now maybe 2 spaces as the Audi has gone by, and he's fallen into the clutches of the 111 Mercedes just behind him. And he was all of a sudden looking at a move potentially for 4th, is now having to fight to stay inside the top 5. But well and truly the cork in the bottle as the bodywork is off of that Ginetta. We saw a puncture early on. Excuse me, it's the Aston Martin, the number 23. That's the car that Darren Turner would have gotten in the second half of the race.
I think the Ginetta had been on fire because there was a lot of extinguisher foam behind it. Then the Aston's done the radiator. I'm not surprised with the amount of stones on track. Maybe one of those has found its way through the grille. The teams do beef up the protection on the front of the radiators to stop that. But the perverse bit is then that blocks airflow. So maybe some teams having to take the grille protection away to give more airflow to keep the cars in a happy condition.
So here we go again then. Eric Evans all over the back of Harry Reynolds in that McLaren. Harry knows where the attack is going to come from. He's got to defend like mad. He needs to make that McLaren now wider than a fat man as an all-you-can-eat buffet, because if Evans gets past, he's just going to go storming away up the road, isn't he?
Yeah, there's so much pace in that Mustang right now. It's built to fight in the American heat. Is trying to do it in Belgium right now. Switches one way, switches the other, but still the 77 McLaren being as wide as it can down through Blanchimont on the back sector of this racetrack. And you can see the train of cars behind. He really thought about it there. Is going to try to make the move into the bus stop, but closing the door once again. Bodywork flapping. Joe, you talked about how they tried to set up the switch back here, but all of a sudden it's going to be the Mustang who's going to have to play the defensive game because there's a whole gaggle of cars behind.
Yeah, Evans is starting to get rough, isn't he? He's physically hitting the back of Reynolds. He's trying to spook Reynolds. It's a frustrating place to be. It's like when you're walking through an airport and that slow walker won't get out of the way. You just stare at them intently, and Evans is just trying to spook Reynolds out of the way. But like you said, the Audi, you can see it in the mirror on our left side, must be alongside. I think we're going to lose the position this time. Is it going to go 3 wide into Eau Rouge?
Let's see. Here comes Paul Petit then with 2 wheels on the grass, nearly 4 wheels on the grass. He's going to get alongside the McLaren. He's going to get alongside the Mustang. Evans gets past both of them. Petit gets crowded out wide. Reynolds fights back. Paul Petit may have to give back a place because he was off the road coming down the hill. He was off the road going through Eau Rouge. And now look at Haverans, who's got the toe of all toes. He's right there behind Eric Evans. On the outside, you've got Harry Reynolds. Paul Petit is right there. Lucas Cartel in the Supra is there. One big breath as they come up towards Lecombe. Harry Reynolds tries to go round the outside. He's off the road, and he's going to, well, he'll get the place, but he ought to give that back, surely.
I hate it so much. It's just not right. It's not cricket, as we would say in English. He just shouldn't be able to get away. I think he's realised it and he's trying to give one position back. But that was proper boogity-boogity down the back straight, wasn't it? The Mustang's bump drafting all the way, and I thought Haverans was going to get there. But Reynolds just seems to be able to fight, and he is cause this whole traffic jam behind him, of which is extending to what now, 9, 10 cars. This is great racing.
Big off-the-road moment for a Supra. Further back, there is a lot of inherent pace, I think, in that Mustang GT4 platform right now. Evans is already trying to leap away a little bit. Haverans has lost a couple positions, gained them right on back, and nearly got another one in this unbelievable battle for second place. Evans can now set his sight on the race leader. Let's relive this because this was phenomenal.
Right. Is that off track and gaining an advantage? No. Certainly two wheels, right? That's just brave, is it? Okay. So the testicularly enhanced Paul Petit has a go coming down towards Eau Rouge, then goes off the road and back on again. And then Haverans in the second Mustang. He's the one to watch here.
He's fully in the bumper, isn't he, of Evans? I'm surprised that train didn't speed up more. And Harry Reynolds was still there at the end of the straight with his floor flapping. And this is what I don't like. There's just no chance the move is on. You're not alongside enough and you just escape. There needs to be a big concrete wall with spikes or something there to stop that happening.
Meanwhile, back at the front, Gabriele Piana, remember him? Gabriele Piana leads, Mackenzie Cresswell is second, and there are more people in the race, and here they are, but there's a bit of a gap second to third. The
gap is so large. The last time by, there were 5 seconds a lap slower, this group. That's the gap in between classes, let alone in the same category. And I'm amazed everyone's still on the track. That was my next prediction, is one of these cars is not making it to the pit window. Eric Evans will now, because he's escaped the carnage, but Harry Reynolds is just really blocking everyone up and causing an absolute scene.
I was going to say, speaking of using the track, the 77 is using about as much of Spa as I have ever seen. He's got the Team Floral Mustang with a heck of a run, but he might be a little bit too close. You mentioned the benefit of backing off just ever so slightly, a little breath on the throttle to give yourself a better run up the Kemmel Straight. He'll be trying, but that McLaren is so strong on the brakes. You saw him be maybe a little too overzealous in the braking zone a few laps by, but we'll see what happens on this occasion.
Now,
Mustang is closing.
Yeah, Mickey Haverans is going to have another go here, isn't he? This is for 4th place. Reynolds versus Haverans. Eric Evans, having cleared the yellow McLaren, finally is getting away up the road, and Haverans there.
So I'm really worried the McLaren there has lost something out the floor. To me, it actually looked like the fan belt has gone as Haverans has gone on. Maybe it was his car, but for sure it looked like it fell out the bottom as Julian Repair gets that Audi going, and it should be okay. But a lot of gravel on the track there. Only solo driver, but they seem to have repaired that car.
Yes, the grim repair there. Julian off the road and back on again. Right, the McLaren and the Mustang have survived despite whatever's been flying off whichever car. But Paul Petit, who had that monster accident here, didn't he, 12 months ago in the second race, he is very much in the mix. But look at the line of cars behind. We've talked about Harry Reynolds being the cork in the bottle, but this battle pack now from 4th all the way back to about 16th place.
I'd love to hear from Ali and why the pace difference is so severe between the two cars of 78 in Cresswell, which is going round in 2-minute 30s, versus Harry Reynolds is a 32 of the best lap, but last lap a 35, like I mentioned, and it's really causing this, and drivers are trying to shuffle their up. It's almost like watching the Tour de France, isn't it? In a peloton, the riders trying to jostle for position, and at the moment Harry Reynolds is leading this peloton.
But he'd much rather be further up the road. However, right now he's got to defend. Replay of how Julien Repair found the gravel. He tried to get up the inside of the BMW, and I don't think they touched.
No contact. I think there's just too much steering lock on a tight angle for the Audi, too much throttle. Nearly 500 horsepower. He sends it through the gravel trap, and fair play to the Audi. You can see it's bogging down. He would been praying, don't get stuck here, that's embarrassing, and it got out the other side, luckily for him and everyone.
Gabriele Piana is having the easiest of Saturday morning drives, isn't he?
Slightly easier than I think his efforts yesterday when he had to charge through the field and do it on strategy. Of course, getting to start this race rather than take the checkered flag on this occasion. But my eye is on Eric Evans. My eye is also on Harry Reynolds, who now is under probably the most pressure he's seen into the run to the source from Haverans behind, who goes on the outside line. It turns into gravel very, very quickly, and that McLaren is daring on the inside, lunges on the brakes. The 68 Mustang round the outside. And now the stampede of horsepower on the run down to Eau Rouge, switches back aggressively. In defense goes the 77, squeezing on the pit wall. And we might go side by side through Eau Rouge once again. We've seen it before. We're going to see it again, but it's the Mustang trying to get to the 4 and finally will. But the 77 might have a little bit of a run, but look at the momentum in that V8 power pulling down the straight.
Yeah, Mercedes coming with their V8 as well, and it looks like Reynolds has finally lost his King Canute movement, and the tide is coming in thick and fast. And I think he's worried about his track limits. It's probably the team telling him he can't afford any more. Is it going to be the Audi as well? 3 places and 2 corners. It's not just the 2 places lost so far. Just think to add into the mix, Piana's having it easy, right? But remember his teammate Thomas Rackle, he only started 15th yesterday, so eventually the pace in that car isn't across both its drivers.
Yeah, let's half the battle isn't right, giving enough margin to your teammate if you know that one is maybe inherently slightly faster than the other, but that BMW as a whole looks very dialed in. That yellow McLaren is starting to sink a little bit, and I think Paul Petit just behind. We know how strong that Audi can be. We know how strong they are trying to be today. And a little comeback effort coming back on track was one of the Toyota Supras, who's now got the #1 team speed car Audi all over the back of it.
Yeah, that's Robert Consony in 10th place, Consony, and he's chipped his way up the order, hasn't he? So Robert, after didn't get in the car didn't get in the race yesterday, desperately trying to salvage some points. The reigning champions, a really tough season. There's Paul Petit having a bit of a wobble coming up towards Piff Paff. 43 minutes remain of the race. Gabriele Piana, to go back to Joe's point, will of course stay in that car for as long as possible. Thomas Rackel, quick, but not as experienced, not as quick as Piana.
Yeah, and I think Piana able to get a tune out of that BMW better than anyone else. And for people watching at home going, why is this kid only in GT4? Well, he races in GT3 as well, remember. He's in that Mercedes 87 from Winwood, and that could be a car that could win the bronze class later on for the 24 hours. So keep an eye on that. Constantly there with the one on the car from last year champions. We've never had a defending champion. We've never had reigning champions defend their crown, and they are, alongside Piana, the only pairings on the grid that could potentially add a second GT4 crown to their CV.
Just behind how strong that BMW M4 GT4 Evo is on the brakes.
Got a couple of sectors with a yellow flag, and that's why, because we've got a Toyota that is well and truly beached. It's Max Bostrom. We're going to have a full course yellow. Time to catch breath, really. Bostrom was a retirement in his stint yesterday near the timing line, and maybe there was a little bit of a rub with the other Supra, but definitely the result is that he's in the gravel, he's in the tyres, and he's in retirement.
Yeah, it was the 6 car, I think, wasn't it, of Perino that got down the inside. It was a hard one on the first go to go, where's the blame? Because Perino was quite a long way down the inside. Let's have a look down. What can we see in front of us here? It's already kicked off. We don't really see the contact, but the Supra in the gravel unable to avoid the barrier. And full course yellow coming out should neutralise the gaps. Interestingly, the leaders were just in the mid part of the Kemmel, so they had a bigger speed to drop down to, whereas the cars behind were still on the run to route. So the gap will be still huge, but it will actually favour third place backwards.
Someone who's not going to favor, I think, is Harry Reynolds as well. It will close him back up on the Mercedes and the 2 Fords that have passed him, but I think for everyone else that was stuck behind, what you've described as the cork of the bottle, I think aptly so, this is going to maybe give them a little bit better of a run once we do get going again.
Yeah, so at the moment everyone just stuck at 80 Ks at this full course yellow. It'd be interesting to see if we go to a full safety car after this or not. Race director, I think, is going to do everything in his power not to, because it would be close to the pit window when we would want to get back to green, I feel. And at the moment, with temperatures being so high, I don't think the drivers will even want it in terms of the higher pace under safety car versus the fixed 80 at full course yellow to get tyre and temp back in their cars.
Someone who definitely will not want to go under safety car is Piana as well. With that 3.9 second gap, he will not want that to close down and bunch the field up. He wants everybody to hold station right where they are.
Yeah, you can see the race lab car losing its left mirror. We've got Supra of its windscreen wipers on. So, yeah, the Marshal's doing a good job as ever getting attached to it. Look like they're going to take that car straight back to the track and let the car go from there. So, again, the smarter drivers, Piana for sure, will notice that. Next time by, we'll be expecting a huge amount of gravel on the racing line at Stavolo T14.
And he'll also, if he sees that car being put on the tarmac, will be expecting that the full course yellow might be withdrawn. It's been a quick one, this, so we should, given these temperatures, be okay to go racing. Normally a safety car will follow just to give them a lap to get things back up to temperature, but on such a warm day, perhaps that's less relevant.
Yeah, and as a driver, it's actually quite a stressful period here at 80 Ks because you, like you said, you've seen it's going to go back to green soon. The team have a procedure where they'll call green over the radio because they're told from their team radio and the timing screens. As a driver, you've got the driver display unit, which will go. You've got the marshals, you've got the marshal display flag. So you've got 5 options, and any of them, whichever one gives you an indication of green, you go on. So your eyes are flicking from marshal post to marshal post to marshal post. The radio is dead silence. The teams don't allow any chat in case you're talking while it goes back to green. So at this point, you are very much a one-man band sat in a fast mobile office.
So the Toyota is on the edge of the circuit, not yet having moved, but the cars under full course yellow conditions still circulate. We're on lap 8. We are getting closer to the pit window, but all being well, this caution period should be gone by the time we get to the pit window won't need to be delayed. Gerald Duval, who is the race director, keeping an eye on the recovery operation. And there's the car, but it doesn't seem to want to go.
Yeah, that's a shame, isn't it? The driver obviously not happy to fire up, or sometimes, again, drivers are told as we go for this start replay.
So let's have a look at those McLarens, because it was a very, very brave start by Harry Reynolds. Gabriele Piana trying to get between the two of them. Reynolds round the outside. And then it was Mackenzie Cresswell that went the wide S, but that was really, really brave stuff by Harry Reynolds, wasn't it? All the way around the outside, as Jonathan called it at the time.
Yeah, it certainly was, and those two McLarens could have very easily come to blows. I think that wide move was in avoidance. That car, of course, washing out. But also, I think there's probably a little bit of a movement in the steering wheel to not run into the back of his stablemate in the yellow 77 just in front. But my goodness, what a start. Miraculously, everybody kept it clean and mostly kept it on the racetrack. And finally, the 29, albeit with a little bit of a tug, is being dragged through the gravel trap.
Yeah, still surprised that car can't drive away. I was going to finish my point on, sometimes teams and drivers don't want to refire the engine after the gravel, because the gravel can be in the engine bay, it can ping the bell, and then you lose all oil pressure and potentially damage the engine. So maybe that's the reason on that one. And I also just want to go back to the start on Cresswell. That huge snap of oversteer he had, the tyre pressures would have still been quite low. So as he's hit the curb on the inside, I imagine the compression in the tyre has loaded the car up, and it was that sort of high side moment, and he must have been a few centimetres away from wiping out his teammate, and that would have gone down as fast as a lead balloon.
You can imagine, can't you, as well, the shouts inside the lead BMW. The pit window is postponed, and that makes me think we are going to end up with a safety car, and that's the last thing that Piana wanted after all the effort to build a gap. Eric Evans there in third place, but with the window being about 2 minutes away, in other words, a lap away, race control are not happy.
Yeah, safety car is on track as well. You can see it on the tracker, so it's going to pick up Piana at the end of the Kemmel Straight. So this will delay everything. All the gaps back to zero makes Harry Reynolds' defence look like the right decision, doesn't it? If he hadn't had his elbows out, where would he be? Sixth at the moment. I think on pace, he would probably be all the way down in 11th or 12th place.
I mean, how often do we see a car like that that's lacking a little bit of pace and doing a good job in defense? Once one car gets past it, opens the floodgate, and they sink like a stone. He didn't, so credit where credit's due. Had made that the widest McLaren I think I've seen, at least in GT4 spec, and had done a nice job of it. Went wide into Lecombe. There was a little moment here or there, but nothing terribly untoward, and did eventually give that position back to the Mustang, so fair play.
And then just to almost get ahead of the game with the safety car procedure. So we'll go to safety car, everyone will catch up. And then when the safety car comes in, no one else can box. So they can't follow the safety car in for their mandatory pit stop. So we're going to get at least one proper racing lap after this safety car period, which has just been announced.
Yeah, safety car conditions are now activated, so everybody can speed up. Of course, you're at a delta speed for the full course yellow. The safety car is rather more ambiguously known as motorway speeds. So now it can go quicker than they could under full course yellow. The cars can now speed up to catch up. It's taken a long time to get that Supra to a safe place. There is a big runoff tarmac area on the other side of the gravel track, but they've effectively now had to take it all the way from Stavelot through the Cours Paul Frere to put it on the tarmac on the outside of the circuit there. That's James Sherrington's Supra, and that currently is in 19th place, getting roughed up on the first lap.
Yeah, I wonder if any of that damage was just for going off into the gravel trap a little bit. Funny enough, in the exact same spot he went off in avoidance yesterday of a car spinning in front of him, but survived on both occasions, albeit with just a little bit of bodywork hanging from the rear end of that Toyota, but no harm, no foul, just a little bit of drag down the straightaways.
Right there, car's starting to close on the safety car. And as Joe says, they'll have a racing lap before the pit window is officially open. So that's Charlie Hart getting ready to go in what is the second placed McLaren, and there finally the Toyota is out of harm's way down near the Stavelot entrance to the circuit. Right, lights still on the safety car, and we anticipate, if it does peel in this time, one racing lap, then the window open, yeah?
Yeah, exactly that. Drivers still warming their tyres, so just trying to maybe clean them up as much as generate heat. Looks like safety car lights are out, so Piana is now in the lead. It looked like he just got caught out slightly as it concertinaed up. So drivers here, Charlie Robertson about to take over from Rami Ben Shrivens, his engineer, giving him final instructions there. That car at the moment is 5th in the Pro-Am class. It's slow from Piana, isn't it? Is that because he's trying to get the jump? It looks like he's gone early. My fear is he's going to catch a safety car.
Well, it goes early, perhaps on the basis that he's got more real estate to try and stretch a little bit of a margin, because he's only going to have a lap or two, really, before he wants to come into the pit lane. Look at the bodywork flapping at the front of the Eric Evans Mustang as well. That's dragging on the ground. And there, number 1 Audi not getting away very quickly, but Piana, yeah, he has gone early. The safety car is in, so Piana has done a good job in this, because, look, he's gapped the McLaren by, I'd say, about a second, maybe more, coming up towards the line.
Caught a lot of drivers sleeping, didn't he? Luckily for him, Cresswell, one of them, who's actually Evans and Haverance really on their toes. You're right, the Audi had a bad restart, didn't it, for Constantly, who's now in 9th place.
So here they come up towards La Source. Have a look at the front of the dark blue Mustang in 3rd place. Doesn't really show it quite so much under braking for La Source, but at full speed you can see the front of the car flapping a little bit. And there, Harry Reynolds getting roughed up, this time by Joel Mesh in number 110 Mercedes. That is staying ahead. Paul Petit in the green Audi yo-yoing his way up and down the order a bit in this race, and currently in 7th place.
All the way now through Eau Rouge, and they start to string out just a little bit down the Kemmel Straight, but the 77 is trying to regain that position a little bit wide from the Mercedes AMG, and will allow the McLaren to tuck up right under the rear wing. But what kind of a pace does it have? He's been very strong in the braking zone to Lecom. He's been very brave on laps past, but the two Fords trying to get closer to one another. AMG defends to the inside, and a huge move now even further to the inside, switching one way in that, but will have to give way. The Mercedes goes off the track. Joe, that's your favorite move, and then finally regains position. Will he have to give that back or no?
I hope so. As we see that Mustang off, and it has got front end damage. The whole splitter, the whole front bumper going. Is that from all the bump drafting he was doing on the back of Harry Reynolds earlier in the race? He's got to try and get that car back to pit lane, and hopefully for him, Academy Motorsport tried to get some tank tape on that to stick it back together. But I think the damage maybe was the reason he was off, not the off causing the damage.
You can see there again, it's all flapping on the ground. That's what I identified just before the restart. So it's not now going to be a nice car to drive, that, for Eric Evans, I wouldn't have thought. He's still running at the head of that train in 3rd place. But look, bearing in mind they were all in a line here a lap ago under safety car, see how much he's lost.
Yeah, the splitter now is acting like an air brake, but also all the air is stalled underneath, so it's not generating any downforce from the floor or the diffuser. He's actually got away, though, so maybe this is going to be the Mustang Evo 2 GT4, because the pace looking good, but I worry that car to get to the end of the race. We're not even halfway yet.
And look at that in replay, way out through the gravel. He nearly had to pay to get back into the circuit there. He was so far off the racetrack, Eric Evans, but survived it and hung onto the plate, amazingly.
Barely, but he did. We almost got a nose-to-tail moment from the two Mustangs once again. Here's another look on board. Look at how violent of an impact that is. The hands all well and truly crossed up as he went back and then went defensive right away. Joe, was that him trying to defend the position, or was that simply trying to regain control as he got back on the tarmac?
It kind of lost me, that one. I genuinely thought we were going to be watching the wrong lap there. It wasn't the lap we had the issue, because we got to the apex okay, and we didn't do anything really wrong. I can only assume as we've gone on top of the apex, that splitter hanging down has unloaded the front axle and made him understeer wide, but he just kind of got on the throttle too early, essentially, for the grip that was underneath him. No real snap and no real moment, but an odd one, and he lives to fight another day. Pit window is now open, but these leaders couldn't make their way in as we look at this very heavily damaged Ford Mustang.
And let's see whether there's anything they can do with that on the pit stops. You see the splitter grind against the ground. You just had a caption come up about a 5-second penalty for number 32. That's the Hendrik Still, currently driven by Joachim Bolting Porsche. She's normally quick in Pro-Am, but a 5-second penalty for track limit offences. Also, we're getting a 5-second penalty for number 97, the Daniel Varvrud Stefan Nielsen BMW. So penalties are coming.
Could hear the splitter chattering away as it flew past our camera point on the start of the Kemmel Straight, like when you're shivering and if you had metal teeth, it was banging away. So that's going to be doing damage all the way through the front subframe of that Ford Mustang. And again, Evans is wide out of turn 3. He's doing everything he can to hang on to his podium position.
Cresswell continuing to show the pace that we saw in the opening stage of this race before we fell under caution. But Eric Evans, damage or not, that Mustang seems to be built like a tank. It hasn't impacted his pace too much, although Haverans is all over the back of him. But we saw that in the opening phase, didn't we? Getting just about locked nose to tail down the Kemmel Straight at times. But the two of them pretty equal on pace. I'm curious as well, once they do hand over to their two teammates, both Ford Juniors in Sam Paley and Nathan Van Springle, that battle was very close yesterday as well on pace.
Yeah, this battle's was our Pro-Am lead since the Audi of Botman that's now got in front of the BMW of Chris Salkeld, and then the Borzan Automotive BMW is in third place. That's our Pro-Am 1, 2 and 3 running pretty close together. Pit stops will be important for these drivers to get out and then to get their pro drivers in to see where they will end up in the order.
And also, just to confirm from Grinnell in the pits, the Ginetta did catch fire. It has gone back out again. It becomes a kind of test session now because it's a good few laps down, and as having said that, just come back in. So the pit window cycling through, but this hopefully will be a stop that is purely the regulation one, nothing more serious than that. So Piana still trying to build this lead over Mackenzie Cresswell, and sometimes Piana seems to bail early and put the co-driver in, but you can anticipate today, while he's in the lead, he's going to try and stay out for the long hours and build that gap.
Yeah, I think Evans could be the first to box because of damage. He does. Heverens does as well, and so does Harry Reynolds. Bad news for me. I offered to eat all my hats, didn't I, if he got to the end of his stint without doing track limits. Luckily, I don't own any hats.
Ah. There's always a catch with those. Right, down the pit lane then comes that long train from third and fourth and fifth. So you've got Evans, Haverans, Reynolds, Petit coming down the pit lane. Lucas Cartel is in. Also, Philip Viskirchen is in. He was a bit physical yesterday, got a penalty for an incident with the BMW. So the order is going to shuffle hugely now as we are into the second half of the race. Interesting to see if Academy Motorsport tries to do anything with that splitter. Bonnet's going up.
Yeah, the Team Floral car. I thought for a moment they were maybe assessing some damage. You can see, no, that, excuse me, that was on the sister car of Eric Evans. That was the one that did have the damage. Yeah. So understandably trying to do some repair work there, but maybe something even further going on. They can do it while the driver's swap is happening and not afford to lose too much time. But you worry once that door closes, how much work is left.
Yeah, so you've got about 50 seconds stationary in the GT4 pit stop. The pit stop time is 121 seconds minimum. Takes around 72 seconds to do this 994-meter pit lane at 50 kilometers an hour.
Everyone continuing to make their stops. Both McLarens will hand over as well. As we said, 2 Ford Juniors hopping aboard their respective pony cars. Piana continues to lead at the front of the field, has not made his stop yet, as have about 13 cars who have elected to stay out on the racetrack, make that 14 with the Audi, the number 44 in the AM class. You can see that driver change happening. One of the cool things I love about GT4 is how much these race cars retain the characteristics of the road cars they're based off of. The big iconic McLaren doors coming up, and creates a challenge getting in and out, I assume. But from a marketing perspective, and from Jonathan likes to see that perspective, it's very cool. It's a wildly entertaining thing, but watching the drivers ingress and egress out of that car is a pretty interesting thing as well.
Yeah. We need to introduce him to the GT2 KTM as well, where the bodywork goes up and forward and you have to clamber through it. So yeah, they've all got their nuances, you're right. So Harry Reynolds gives way now to Yanni Stevenheidens, and we'll see what the pace of that car is going to do. But it is still a head scratcher as to what was going on in that first stint.
Yeah, Joe, you had pointed out maybe some floor damage that was impacting the pace, but I come back to yesterday's race, and Yanni Stevenheidens, and his pace was so close to Charlie Hart's. I'm curious how that plays out in the second stint.
It does look as though the McLaren's been mugged on the pit stops as well, doesn't it? It's lost certainly pace to the Botman Beltramelli Audi, so around 10 seconds slower. Back out now goes the Michael Haverans, now Nathan Van Springel Mustang.
Strange with the 77 McLaren as well, because the pit stop looked done, didn't it? It didn't look like it should be long. So the only thing I can think is they got a 5-second penalty for track limits. So I don't have to eat that. I have not seen that. Yeah. They shouldn't have had that with the amount of track limits they've got. But it looked intentionally slow would be my only takeaway.
Sam Paley, sorry, in that Mustang, not Nathan Van Springel. That is Nathan Van Springel, just ahead of the penalised Porsche. And look at the splitter now, blimey.
That is a proper amount of race tape applied to the front nose of that car. If it can get to the finish, a winning car is never an ugly car. As long as it gets there, it's fine, but it's still chattering away, isn't it?
It pains me to say, because I know I'm getting old and boring, but as a driver now, I'd be worried about this car ingesting its own front splitter, going under the front axle and potentially losing brake and steering ability. I wonder if race control need to look at this, and this could be a black and orange. It's a hard one to call, but the amount of times you see a rear bumper slightly hanging off when you get it, I don't really see how it can be any better if it's on the front.
Doesn't look like the world's greatest amount of tape either. I mean, I know it's got to be a bodge to get it back out without losing too much time, but you think surely that's not going to do much to it?
Has Academy team owner Matt Nicol-Jones ever bought you a beer?
No, fair point, well made. Right, replay here of the Treble 1 SR Motorsports Mercedes being crowded out through the gravel. That's the car that's taken 3 race wins already this season, and having a rather rougher ride. Mackenzie Cresswell helping to put Charlie Hart into the car. That was Enrico Federer, by the way, in the Mercedes. But Charlie Hart now taking over 78, the second place car.
You see how calm the communication was between Cresswell and Hart there. You can hear him just saying, everything okay, car's good. So it just means that now Charlie Hart can just get straight on. If it was the other way around, I've got some understeer, I've got some oversteer, just clean communication, not shouting, not rushing. They look very well versed as that car now leaves pit lane, hopefully quicker than the sister 77 did.
Now, if you think about yesterday's qualifying session for these second stint drivers that we've got, Charlie Hart was on pole position and Thomas Rackle was a good fair way down the top dozen on the grid. So the evidence is there to suggest that Charlie Hart in this car will be quicker than Thomas Rackle when he gets into the currently leading BMW.
Yeah, and that gap is around 7 seconds. So that's the work that Hart needs to do now. So they're effectively doing the undercut as finally Piana comes in. It had to be this lap. He would have been too late in the window, pushing all the way to the line now at 50. And he's got to get this car serviced as quickly as he can. He did a good job on the 78 car for Elite. Their pit stop was only 9/10 over the minimum.
So Maestro Piana down the pit lane for the routine stop. And the Borusan Automotive Motorsport team, the Turkish team, which has, in fairness, done a good job itself, but certainly also benefited from Piana, who doesn't just specialise in GT4, but he specialises in the BMW. You know, it's this car that he has won titles and races with for different teams, with different co-drivers. You've got the LaRouche Consani Audi in as well, so the last stop cycling through. And Gabriele Piana giving way to Thomas Rackle, who was absolutely beside himself with the win yesterday, wasn't he? Talking about his sponsors being here and biggest day of his life. He was delighted.
It was a remarkable thing to see. There was a little tremor in his voice as he was giving the Victory Lane interview, and understandably so. Spa is a very special place. It doesn't matter what you win here, especially at first GT win. That has got to be an immense thing. I know I'm excited just visiting the circuit, but to be a racing driver and have your, all of the proof be put in the pudding, and to win a race at a pro level in front of an incredible crowd, as we've seen here for a weekend like this, I think it's got to be an absolutely tremendous thing.
Yeah, where they are in pit lane on my notes, that will be about 52 seconds from when they're rolling to exit. Okay. So as that car leaves, it's 52 seconds to work out, is this car going to get back in front or not? It's got to go all the way down pit lane, and at the moment the McLaren has momentum. We saw that being key for Piana as he left the pit lane, and the car's still in the box. So 52 seconds, I think, from where they are. This is looking positive, I feel, for the 78 McLaren, which is coming into the last corner now.
And that McLaren's pit stop, 2 minutes 1.9, so pretty much spot on, just 9/10 over the regulation time. That's okay, it's being under that gives you the problem. So the Thomas Rackle BMW was going down the pit lane, and the McLaren heading up to La Source.
So it's the wrong Borusan Automotive car I was looking at, and that's why it's already at pit lane exit. So it's going to keep the lead, and you'll see the other Borusan Automotive car in the background confusing me. There it is. So it would have taken the lead if that was it, but it's the Rackle car that's already on the Kemmel Straight. So where do we think the gap's going to be? Maybe 5 seconds by the time they break the beam at the end of the Kemmel Straight.
But it is a head full of steam. We saw this in roles reversed yesterday when Piana climbed aboard. Despite the BMW not coming out in a favorable position, it very quickly regained that position, and now it's going to be Thomas Rackle having to go defensive against a very, very rapid McLaren. Temperatures continue to rise, just above 33 degrees centigrade right now, as we see the Mustang with Sam Paley freshly installed, the 2 speed car Audis doing battle just behind. But the battle we are watching right now, the 310 Audi, who gets spun sideways. Boy, we've seen plenty of cars go side by side. We've seen some go off track, and the Audi seems to have survived the spin, but a proper thunk into the driver's side door.
Tuda Tudaraki behind the wheel of that car, and it was 66 Linus Hahner, I think, that got into him. So Tudaraki, yeah, the innocent victim potentially of all of that. We've got 110 being given a penalty, the other SR Motorsport Mercedes. Let's look at the replay, Joe.
66 not alongside enough. That will be a penalty. What do I think is fair? Maybe 10 seconds. The drive-through's too long here, of course, but that was a hard hit for the Willie Motorsport car.
Yeah, it was sportingly done to get that number 610 Audi going again. Thomas Rackle will be keeping an eye on the gap just behind him, because the 78 McLaren has had a head full of steam. Someone who does not have a head full of steam, the 55 Supra, who is pulled sportingly out of the way and off the racing line. Lights are off on the car, and the 55 Toyota Gazoo car is apparently day done. pulling off of the track with an issue.
Yeah, that came here leading the AM Championship, didn't it, before yesterday's race? So the Brunhagens have had a tough weekend.
Yeah, really hard for the Swedish duo. And that's the second Supra who've pulled off in that place exactly, wasn't it? In qualifying, we saw the 9 Supra stop there, so maybe something with the heat at the end of the straight, the car's not enjoying. As we look at our leader, it was a 5.7-second gap at the end of the Kemmel straight, and then it was down to 5.3 by the end of sector 2. So what's it going to be by the end of the lap, as we will get our order properly in line, as now Hart crosses the line 5.2, so half a second gained on the outlap alone.
Indeed, so with now just under 19 minutes of the race to go. So the gap coming down, last few stops cycling through. So Sam Paley in the healthy Mustang, if you like, in 3rd place. And there we've got the incident 310, I noticed, being caught up now. 61, Nathan Van Springel in the other Mustang that he's taken over from Eric Evans, a long way back, but it was a long pit stop. They dropped another half a minute while they were trying to use the tape. That was the hesitation of my voice. I was trying to work out where that other Mustang was, but Nathan Van Springel is now a long way down the order in something like 35th place, because they lost half a minute trying to effect repairs. So that now, the car of Sam Paley is upholding Ford honour.
Yeah, I'd probably box that Van Springel car. The damage it's got, there's almost no point running to the end. Yellow flag in the background, assuming it's for this Supra of Toyota Gazoo Sweden. It's maybe not quite behind the barrier. You might get a shot of it on the left, but at the moment, driver's unable to overtake down the Kemmel straight, although it looks like the Aston Martin is doing quite the opposite.
So, did a nice job of pulling off the racing line, but as you said, it's getting that car out of harm's way. Remarkably, you mentioned it was the M-Class points leader. It's the only duo in the M-Class to have not won a race yet. That mark will continue on, unfortunately, in unfortunate circumstances, but as we watch on with another M-Class competitor in the number 30.
Yeah, that's Daniel Blickler, who is the class leader now. So Daniel Blickler and Max Kronberg, they didn't race together at Paul Ricard, but they've rekindled this relationship since, and going very, very well indeed, those two. So it's always a competitive car. Max Kronberg was absent from Paul Ricard, but coming back for Monza in here.
A bit more admin maybe to catch up on Yanni Stevenheiden's pace is really no different to Harry Reynolds, I would say. So you would say it was a car issue. We saw the floor flapping, potentially that, potentially something else, of course, but the 77 car unable to match the pace of the 78, now driven by Charlie Hart, who is still bringing the gap down ever so slightly. But Rackle at the moment is driving great pace, and I would actually say the pace he's doing at the moment is good enough to keep the win.
The BMW that we saw involved in that accident with the Audi of Linus Hahner, that's just come into the pit lane. Daniel Blickler's AM-Class leading Porsche presses on. It's Daniel Drexel and Chris Solkeld leading in Pro-Am at the moment in the BMW. They had a win at Paul Ricard. And in silver, it is still Thomas Rackle, 5.3 seconds to the good and 16 minutes of the race to go. Last time through, they were split really only by hundredths of a second. So Rackle's pace is pretty good. So up front, you've got a BMW with Rackle, and lower down, there's a Mustang with a rattle. And Nathan Van Springel in 34th is persevering. Daniel Drexel and Chris Solkelt then leading in Pro-Am, but Vinny Beltramelli starting to close in the Audi.
You could say we got a shake Rackle, and then at Monza we had a roll, didn't we? And just wonder where the pace is going for Charlie Hart. Is it going to improve? Is it going to drop away? 10th away for him. So at the moment, I really do fancy the 12 car of having a wicked chance of 2 race wins this weekend. It's been a phenomenal performance, Piano. We've sung his plaudits, but at the moment, Rackle has upped his game from what we saw from him in qualifying.
The number 2 Porsche, which is the Bas Visser Leon van Westervelt car, has just been given a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane and an 11-second penalty for being short on the pit stop. As you see now, troubled Greg Gilver. That car has dropped a place and it's slowed right down.
Yeah, 5 seconds lost in sector 1, so something's not right. Is it going to be a similar problem like we've seen from these Audis before? He's got his indicator on already. I think he knows it's day done and he's trying to get out. That's another point scoring opportunity evaporating.
He's got to be careful. It does pull off the racing line, and well done, because this is the battle for the Pro-Am lead that's happening just behind. Drexel had done a nice job of keeping that Toyota Supra of Schwartz installed in the 87 between he and his closest rival in number 3 Audi. But that number 8 Audi a troubled day. We heard at the top of the show for Team Speedcar, the strong desire to have a good result as a team after a troubled race one, at least for the 8 car. That is a day done. Further pressure for the 77 behind as we continue to ride on with our Pro-Am leaders.
Yeah, you take issue with the name of that team. There's car, but not speed anymore, and it's been not only a bad weekend, but a very untypical weekend. You know, having those engine dramas yesterday on number 1 and problems now on 8 with electrical gremlins yesterday. We don't often see that.
I want to offer an idea that I've got no evidence for. That Audi is now getting older. The support from Audi Sport is dwindling. Are they struggling to keep these cars at a top level of motorsport purely on the parts supply from the supplier that has pulled out of it? And that's a championship winning car from last year, so it's no means slow or unreliable, but we're seeing a different package this year, I feel, from that Audi GT4.
You've seen the leaders go through. Thomas Rackle ahead of Charlie Hart. The gap is down to 4.8. This is Sam Paley, and look who's up to 4th, having just questioned those Audis. It's Benjamin Lariche's car taking over from Robert Constantine. Now up into 5th place goes Bas Visser, but that's got those 2 penalties I've just been talking about, so forget that, sadly. And there is the triple winning Mercedes, 6th on the road, 5th on corrected time of Enrico Federer, ahead of the other Mercedes AMG behind of the very quick Spanish driver Luc Ibanez. So we're talking now in the second stint about a total different line of cars in different places compared to what we had earlier on in the race.
Yeah, the number 111 Mercedes started on the outside of the 6th row of the grid, so it's done a nice job through the opening stint to leap through. It's now all over the back of the number 2 Cayman that we had talked about throughout the race. We saw the 110 actually as the favorable positioned Mercedes AMG from SRO Motorsport. Not so as it stands. Number 111 with championship implications in class. Trying to go door to door with the Cayman. Outside, thinks better of it, switches back. Cayman chops the nose off, and all of a sudden another AMG has joined this battle as well, with Ibanez just behind. It goes a little bit more to the outside, thinks about a move, continuing to hang close, and then finally gives way as the rear end gets a little bit squirrely, but still door to door. The Cayman a little bit longer on the brakes. Do we see a switchback? You got to be careful with the fellow AMG behind, chopping the nose off, and this battle is still unresolved.
That was nicely done, though, wasn't it, by Enrico Federer to do that cutback. He's got the inside line for Pouin, and Luc Ibanez tries to get up the inside as well. Can't do it, but Bas Visser then in that Cayman with those 2 penalties to be applied, trying to put up whatever defence he can, but that was nicely done by Federer.
It really was. His rotation was aided, wasn't it, by Ibanez, who got in the rear of him, nearly got in the rear of Visser as well. Visser has got 0 rear grip in that Cayman. Again, this is a great reason why Porsche probably got the 911 coming next year. Maybe a bit more headroom in performance for them. So this Cayman effectively in its last year of top-level racing, and they're hanging on to try and keep Ibanez behind them on the road.
Yeah, the Cayman's still competitive within the classes. It's been a while, really, since we've seen, though, a Silver Cup team go the Porsche option. But right now, Enrico Federer then getting away. That's put him 5th on the road. A little bit further back there, Daniel Drexel, who is still in the lead of Pro-Am. But it's that car, Vinny Beltramelli's Audi, that is the threat. If he can clear Hudson Schwartz, then he might be able to go after the Drexel BMW. Equally, though, Beltramelli has got Mies Halben behind him in the Supra.
Yeah, it's plenty busy right now, and I think that's hindering his pace. This will also certainly hinder his pace if the number 4 Supra does get through. Door to door, wheel to wheel, the Audi tries his best to squeeze, but is forced onto the outside line and has to give way. Now 2 cars between he and the class leader right now, and there was the trouble for the Audi that has pulled in. That's the number 8 driver out, day done.
Yeah, Greg Gilbert there talking to the team. Massive frustration. So yesterday it was number 1 that had the problems. Today it's number 8, the retirement, and Greg Gilbert and Paul Petit, son of former Formula 3, Formula 3000 racer Pierre Petit, out of the race. So Federer up into 5th, and now starting to do that car's best lap times, and he's going after Robert Constantine. As you see the 5th, 6th, 7th train coming up towards us, there is Federer ahead of Visser, ahead of Ibanez. But remember, that Porsche, the blue and white car, has 2 penalties to factor into this.
It's going to really drop them down the order, isn't it? Just when you try and factor in where potentially they're going to go, maybe outside the top 10 at the moment. That's going to be tough for them to swallow. Yeah, all the way down to 13th if the gaps stay the same, which of course they will not into the final 10 minutes of this race.
Clement Seiler has picked up a penalty for track limit offences, so also has the David Kuhlmann, Florent Grisot, Aston. but also the Beltramelli and Bottomount Audis just lost places on the road, but it's going to have a 5-second penalty applied for track limit abuses, and also a 5-second penalty for Luke Ibanez now for track limit abuses.
For Beltramelli, certainly will not help the effort, as is now 2 cars between him and class leader Drexel. We'll have to make up that time and then some, and in about 9.5 minutes, that's a fairly large ask.
Yeah, so it's actually a track limit battle, isn't it, now between Ibanez and Visser, when we see that battle, these 2 Porsches flying through Eau Rouge, and they're in the Pro-Am battle, but unlikely to get a podium.
It is a track limit battle, but then Visser's also got the short pit stop penalty to apply as well. You know, if you're going to get one, you might as well go and try and get the whole gamut of them. 24, which is the Nico Ferrarán Porsche, being attacked by Victor Bouveng, being attacked by Davide Meloni, being attacked by Bata Yildirim in the other Borusan car. This is Valder's view. Porsche ahead, towering over that rear wing from the BMW, but the Schubert car right on the back here. Nico Ferrarán trying to defend, and we've only got 8 3/4 minutes to go.
Yeah, we've got the speed here in the BMW, haven't we? It was a great job by Victor Bouveng yesterday. I think there was a touch there. He's pushing the Porsche on. We're flat in 6th gear, 240 kilometers an hour, just millimeters off the bumper. We lose a bit on the corner entry, that's normal. Ferrarán runs wide as well. He'll be telling the team track limits, make sure they're getting penalised for that, as they're hard on the brakes. But yeah, Victor Bouveng yesterday really was my driver of the race. His pace was more like a a shiny gold than the silver he is at the moment. But Victor Bouveng really on the move.
Yeah, absolutely, and trying to make the move done. Moved and chopped aggressively to the inside down the main straightaway after closing on the brakes. It's a battle for 4th in class. You'd think it was for the race lead.
Ferrarán's dropped a load of places in one go. 3 BMWs in one straightaway. And yeah, strange, maybe a problem for the Porsche.
Well, you got strung out on the outside of the corner and then inexplicably dropped. Like you said, I can't imagine that was entirely down to just a bad run out of the corner, but those BMWs were waiting to pounce, and boy, did they.
Not sure it sounded healthy as it came past that flyby camera either. Maybe a slight misfire on the engine for the Porsche.
Drexel, the Pro-Am leaders, on 4 track limit warnings. He's got to be careful because they're starting to mount up, as you see the Formula BMW fight here, with now you can see Yildirim having got ahead of Meloni as well, but that's Silva getting ahead of Pro-Am. Next target is the Victor Bouveng car, and that's a Pro-Am entry, but Victor Bouveng is the Pro as against Joachim Valder, the Am, so you can anticipate that car to be quick. Meanwhile, Thomas Rackel might make this a double. I've got to say that's a little bit of a surprise given how quick we expected the McLaren to be, but Rackel has risen to the occasion.
Spurred on, I think, by the win yesterday and some of the learnings and the data. I'm sure he will have absorbed a ton, but there's a lot to be said for taking your first win in GT racing and what that can do for your confidence. Obviously, you don't gain skill overnight, but it's been a really, really composed drive right from start to finish for him. This is a really tough stint against a very, very rapid number 78 McLaren, and Charlie Hart installed is no joke either. So a tip of the cap, I think, to Thomas Rackel, at least as it stands. But 75, another time penalty coming in for track limits violations. That'll add 5 seconds to his time.
Well, indeed, as you saw there, Charlie Hart going way wide over the curb. Now, that doesn't look very healthy, does it? The Toyota that was started by James Sherrington has now got Ruben Del Sart behind the wheel, and somebody's treated the back of that a bit like a tin can and sort of tried to open the back of it, peel the bodywork. That doesn't look pretty, and that's the kind of thing that the scrutineers would want you in the pits for.
Yeah, that's my argument, wasn't it, between the front of the Academy bumper and the rear of this one. It's not that heavy, the bits are hanging off, but I'm not sure if that gets considered, whether the black and orange flag is showing, trying to go round the outside of the McLaren chops. That McLaren's not running fast, is it, at all? So obviously some issue there. Maybe he needs to give him a little brake check to try and get the bumper ripped off. We've seen it done in series, haven't we, where cars run wide and intentionally take off loose bodywork to avoid penalty. Just to finish up on that Porsche Ferrarán issue, he is like 25 kilometers an hour down in speed trap, so big issue there.
And more Supra bodywork peeling off the back of the car, as you can see. That, I think, was coming off the Hudson Schwarz entry. So Toyotas and peeling bodywork, rear bodywork particularly, now becoming a factor. Daniel Drexel still hanging on to that Pro-Am lead, doing a good job, isn't he, in 8th place overall. He and Chris Salkeld were winners at Paul Ricard, and now you can see Hudson Schwarz goes ahead of Drexel in a straight line. This is for position, but that's Silva passing Pro-Am. Second in Pro-Am now is Charlie Robertson in the white McLaren. So now, as the BMW reasserts itself, but Drexel makes a mistake and goes deep. It's BMW versus white McLaren. 1, 2, 3, fourth in the queue. That's the Pro-Am lead, and Drexel is making that car as wide as possible. They all dive to the inside. Which one does he defend from? There's gravel flying, there's bodywork flying. Back round the outside comes Beltramelli, but Robertson here could be on for a class win, because don't forget that green Audi that's just gone round the outside of him has got a penalty, and suddenly Drexel's got away by a couple of lengths.
Yeah, it's all kicking off behind. Robertson almost got shuffled down the order, no fault of his own. Has got the run now, could potentially go to the inside of Beltramelli. He's going to try and follow Beltramelli through into the entry of Pouron on the Super. The Super's trying to hang it around the outside. That's brave by Huben there. See the cars moving around, these drivers working overtime in very low grip conditions. Track temperature now 46.4 degrees.
Charlie Robertson, as you say, has dropped a place, as up the inside of Beltramelli now goes the Toyota of Mies Houben. And Robertson does not want to be involved in somebody else's battle. He wants that to disappear, and he's way out wide. Is Charlie over the gravel and bouncing back to the circuit.
Phenomenal job at keeping that on the tarmac once he did rejoin, but that was a wild moment up and over the curbs and up and over the gravel. Did a great job, didn't lose too much ground.
Yeah, this was a car I thought had a problem, lost 3 places in quick succession. Doesn't look like it's going to be a quick one. Amazing, isn't it, GT racing? Drexel looked like he was going to be the man that lost all the positions at the start of this lap, and then suddenly he's escaped. Robertson looked like he was going to be the hero. He's now all the way back to last and dropped a few lengths after that mistake on the exit at Piff Paff. The ebb and the flow of GT4 racing is world class.
Especially around a circuit like this where there's so much in it and it's such a long lap. So Robertson has to regroup. Daniel Drexel then leading Pro-Am, and then you've got those 2 silvers ahead of the penalised Pro-Am car of Beltramelli, and then Charlie Robertson. You can tell how hard he was going because of the fact that he was off the road. And then behind Robertson now is Ruben Del Sart's tin opener Toyota with that rear bodywork still hanging off.
So would you call it a Canna Supra?
No, definitely not.
I was really happy.
No, no. You're going to use that again in another round of the championship, aren't you? Yeah. Use your soup joke until you're dying broth. Right, down the run they come towards Eau Rouge, and we have got just under 3 minutes of the race to go. Thomas Rackel still 4 seconds clear in the lead outright. Perfect race for Borotan, this.
Yeah, it absolutely has. And this battle has stabilized just for the moment, but all of these manufacturers, we've seen how close they can get in the middle and final sector of this lap as they hit the Camel Straight again. Audi getting aggressive, Supra going defensive. Remember, trying to clear some out-of-class, out-of-position cars inside the overall battle for the top 10, but everybody is trying to catch Drexel at the moment. And remember, Drexel, too, has to be careful. You called it out earlier with some of those track limit warnings. He cannot fall afoul of that because that 71 McLaren is charging.
He's on 4. He hasn't added to that as he comes out of Bruxelles, but he's being helped a bit, isn't he, by the Supra battle going on behind him, where you've got Schwartz and Houben together, and Robertson hasn't really been able to do anything about coming back at Beltramelli, so he's kind of got a bit stuck. I wonder whether that car's not enjoyed that trip through the gravel. We're going to have possibly one more lap at the end of this. Yeah, the leader is in the last sector, so he'll just squeeze one more lap out, won't he?
You mentioned that trip to the gravel. I do wonder if that knocked anything loose. He's feeling a little bit uncomfortable in the race car because he seemed a little bit having an easier time closing on the back of that Audi in laps past. But meanwhile, there's another Supra. There's a whole gaggle of Supras joining this battle. But we look on now with Thomas Rackel, who has driven a masterful stint, has allowed that gap to stabilize remarkably at just about 4.5 seconds and some change over Charlie Hart just behind. Again, not an easy task. And after a really strong opening stint from his teammate in Piana, Thomas Rackel absolutely rising to the equation, albeit with a little tire squeal out of La Source, but he's kept the nose clean for the time being.
Last lap, Thomas Rackel down the hill then, 4.9 seconds, the margin over Charlie Hart. It's gone back up again a little bit as Charlie settles for second place, but the BMW had an absolutely dream run. It's kept out of trouble. Piana able to move through to the lead early on and continue to build that lead. And bearing in mind, they'd all bunched up under the safety car, hadn't they? He was able to stretch that out to a degree, and Rackel has just built on it going into this next part of the race.
Yeah, we really thought that was going to hurt their chances of victory as well. Certainly wasn't beneficial for Piana, and we thought that might hurt the Delta once Rackel was installed. And as we said, rising to the occasion, rising to the inside of the track, I should say, is the Audi, who has finally had enough. It's staring at the back end of that Supra and is trying to set his sights on another class position and chase down class leader Drexel. But not having an easy time of it because the Toyota Supra with a little bit of front-end grunt has gone back, and it will sweep around the outside of Radeon and make that run a little bit more difficult. But it will aid the run of the number 71 and Robertson just behind, who's going to have to go offensive and defensive all at the same time.
And to the outside line goes the McLaren then. Robertson trying to find a way back ahead of Vinny Beltramelli, but Daniel Drexel has steadied his particular ship, Joe, hasn't he? It looks like he's going to be okay to preserve that lead in Pro-Am as Robertson does go around the outside of the Audi, but then runs out of road.
Yeah, Karma's going to get him back for going off the track 2 places maybe, as I thought the Supra with rear-end damage was going to get some front-end damage as well. Robertson really struggling in that McLaren, almost like the 77 of Stephen Hayden's now unable to really do anything with the pace of the corner the McLaren generates, but the straight line looking severely lacking, as he's got some lovely white wall tyres from that gravel trip he had on the exit of the Piff Path.
Robertson did a really nice job, though, rejoined the track and was able to give that position back, but he had to do so in a very precarious position because he didn't want to lose 2 positions as he almost did. Just barely got the job done, still under pressure. But if you're going to handle that situation, it was well managed.
So Thomas Rackel and Gabriele Piana are set for a second win of the season, a second win of the weekend as they come down towards the chicane. Great drive by the pair of them. And Thomas Rackel handed a lead, and he has made this look easy. We've got a yellow in sector 1 on the last lap, but a checkered flag at the end of it. Greet Thomas Rackel. He wins race 2 in GT4 European Series at Spa. Second is going to go the way of Charlie Hart and Mackenzie Cresswell. And Sam Paley's Mustang will hang on to 3rd place as he now makes that run up towards the line. The car that Sam Paley has taken over blasts towards the line. Good effort by Michael Haverant as well. Now, what about the Toyota battle? Well, they are still together. We're going to have Benjamin Lariche over the line for 4th. Enrico Federer is going to be 5th. Luke Ibanez 6th on the road, but he's got a penalty. 7th will be Bas Visser, but he's got 2 penalties. And this is Daniel Drexel heading for 8th, heading for the Pro-Am win then. And the Toyotas, elbows out. Up the inside goes Mies Houben, and he's cleared. Hudson Schwartz at the last corner. He's sideways coming out of the chicane, but the change has happened for 9th. Houben ahead of Schwartz. Then it's Beltramelli with a penalty across the line ahead of Charlie Robertson next in another all-action GT4 European Series race. And Daniel Blickler and Max Kronberg's Porsche is 22nd and heading for honours in Am. And there is the car coming out of the chicane right now.
Brilliant race again. We did have a safety car, didn't we? It wasn't almost needed, but unfortunately the position of that car, but that has allowed us nearly 60 minutes of green flag racing, and there's so much pace down the order. Daste in the Lotus did the fastest sector 1 out of anyone on that last lap, and all 11 manufacturers have had a good representation. Great to see the Alpine finally back on the grid as well.
What a special place to do it as well. What a special weekend. Got his first win in GT racing less than a day ago. It seems less than 12 hours ago. Short night of sleep, a little bit of review of data, and a nice cold sip of champagne on the podium yesterday. He'll get to do it again today. Thomas Rackel going back-to-back with his teammate Piana, who needs no introduction in his pace. But I think Thomas Rackel, if he's going to introduce himself in GT racing, this is a heck of a way to do it, to sweep the weekend at one of the most special racing venues you can visit.
So Thomas Rackel taking that victory. The gap 5.5 seconds in the end, but the BMW there on that in lap, and a job very well done indeed. And the Borissan Automotive team celebrating. Gabriele Piana in for a long day, as we've made the point. He's in the CrowdStrike 24 hours of Spa. We were musing yesterday about the kind of preparation that a GT4 race the night before. What about one the night or the morning of the 24-hour race does for preparation? But if you've had a win, you think differently. If you've had 2 wins, you're absolutely cooking.
Absolutely. I think he'll get in with a little burst of energy as well. I think a little energy burst for Ford Racing as well. It was a 4th place finish for one of the Ford Mustangs yesterday, the 68, finishing on the overall in-class podium. Sam Paley doing a sterling job. Had pressure consistently in the second phase of that race from the Audi of Lariche, but managed that pressure wisely. The number 11 BMW is not going to make it back to Parc Fermé, has parked instead in the gravel.
It's weird.
Marshall's jogging down the track. I wonder if that is a mechanical issue of some sort or something fuel related.
He took the flag 15th, so to get in the gravel like that on your slowing down lap, that's all a bit strange.
His last stint was last sector was very slow though, so okay. I think fuel.
GT4 European Series Race 2 began with an all-McLaren front row, and when the lights went green, Gabriele Piana in the third-placed BMW tried to split the leaders. In the end, it was a brave effort by Harry Reynolds to take the lead. Mackenzie Cresswell ran wide, but Piana was on a mission all the way up the hill, and he took second place going into Le Combe. The Ford Mustangs were looking good in the early stints, and so also was the green Audi of Paul Petit. Piana eventually started to mount the attack against Reynolds, switching sides and making a lunge to the inside and taking the race lead into Bruxelles. Reynolds then started to drop back, the yellow McLaren not having the pace of the orange sister car, as Cresswell was able to move past him, and it wasn't long before Reynolds was being monstered by the Mustangs. Thibaut Mojica had a puncture. The car came into the pits and caught fire as Paul Petrie managed to get himself on the grass going down towards Eau Rouge. He cleared Reynolds, couldn't get past the Eric Evans Mustang, and then got forced out wide in a really good battle. The Mustang of Michiel Haverans arriving on the tail of Eric Evans as they ran nose to tail, and you have the McLaren and the Audi together as well on that run up towards Le Combe. Reynolds, though, did as best a job he could to hang on to position. Eventually, the car was 13th after Yanni Stevenhagen's second stint, but the car never really catching on in the same way that the sister car did. Off the road went Max Bostrom's Toyota, and that triggered a full course yellow and a safety car. It bunched everybody up, but the other side of the pit stops, the leader was able to pull away again. Eric Evans had a big trip through the gravel, which did nothing for the front splitter on that car, and eventually it would be retired with damage. Some more good battles involved the hard-charging Enrico Ferderer further down the order, but Thomas Rackel and Gabriele Piana safe up front, being able to come through and score victory in race 2, making it 2 out of 2 in GT4 European Series here at Spa.
Phenomenal bout of racing as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different manufacturers in the top 5 as well. I think a testament to how close the racing often is in this category.
And we'll be able to hear, I think, from our winners very shortly. There is Gwinnell. Thomas Rackel is hopefully going to be joined by Gabriele Piana. Yes, there he is. Gabriele, turn around. Well done. And Gabriele, who seems to get new co-drivers every year, courtesy of Borisam, but the German-Italian partnership working well at the Turkish team, and we should be able to go and have a quick word with them, because Gwinnell has caught up with both of them. Thomas Rackel, Gabriele Piana are our race winners. Let's get to Gwinnell.
On me, but it was a good gap. Gabi drove out for me, and I was just, my job was to finish it, and great job from you, Gabi, and yeah, everything's set.
You had some pressure in your stint as well with the safety car coming on track. No pressure.
It's always easy to be in front, you know, but of course I would have done without, but when I saw that how the race was developing, I thought that it could happen, so I was not trying to manage a bit in the case it happened, and everything worked out. The car was mega, the team did a fantastic job, BMW, everybody, so we are enjoying our first double, and then we move on to Misano, and let's see what happens there.
And good points for the championship for sure.
For sure.
What about the next challenge, Gabriele, because you're going to be racing the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa in a few hours?
I don't know, now I just want to have a shower and hopefully I jump in the car very late so I can relax in the meantime.
Good luck, thank you.
Great to hear from Gwinnell and our class winners, and our overall winner as well. The BMW, a circuit that we wouldn't typically think is best suited to this car, didn't seem to matter, did it one bit. They swept the weekend in pretty exciting fashion.
So let's then have a look at the result, which confirms that win for Thomas Rackel and Gabriele Piana, with Charlie Hart, Mackenzie Cresswell second, and Sam Paley and Michiel Haverans taking third. Pro-Am win for Daniel Drexler and Chris Solkelt, and an Am win for Daniel Blickler and Max Kronberg. Next stop is going to be Misano for GT4 European Series, and we can expect more action next time out when we head to the Italian seaside.